I wanted to make a video about the importance of submission or obedience to God and provide proof that this is the only way to true faith. Okay. The verses I'm going to be referencing are chapter 49, verse 14, and chapter 10, verse 33. So in chapter 49, verse 14, God says, the desert Arabs, the Bedouins, they say, we believe. And then Prophet Muhammad is instructed to answer them, to say, you do not believe, but you should say, we submit. And faith has not yet entered into your hearts. And if you obey God and his messenger, he will not diminish any of your deeds. And God is forgiving, merciful. So in this verse, we are told that there are people at the time of Prophet Muhammad who felt that they were believers. They went to him and said, they said, we believe. And what is he instructed to say in response? He's instructed to teach them that the only way to believe is through submission. So he tells them, what you should say is, we submit. Because the only faith, so the word for the believers is mutminin, while the word for those who submit is Muslims. So Muslim is a level below a believer. So you have to be a Muslim first, and then God will give you this faith. And this faith is defined as certainty of the hereafter. It is defined as when a person strives with their life and their wealth in the cause of God. When you are absolutely certain, you have that inner peace. You are ready to meet death, basically. That is belief. And you don't need belief to submit. That's what needs to be understood. All you need to submit is you have to have logic. You have to have common sense. Okay? So as an example of what it means to submit to God, I'm going to use the verses that define the straight path, which are in chapter 6, verses 151 to 153. So in these verses, Prophet Muhammad is instructed to say. So these verses begin with the word say. So we know that he stood in front of his people and said the following. He said, come, let me tell you what your Lord has made forbidden for you, that you should associate anything with him, and do good to your parents, and do not kill your children out of fear of poverty we provide for you and for them, and do not approach indecencies, whether they be concealed or out in the open, and do not kill a soul that God has made forbidden except for the requirements of justice. And these are his commandments to you, that you may be mindful. And do not approach the property of an orphan except in the most righteous manner until they reach maturity, and give full weight and measure when you trade with justice. We do not burden a soul beyond its ability. And when you speak, be just, even if it's against your own family, and keep your deal with God. These are his commandments to you, that you may be mindful, that you may think about it. And this is my straight path, so follow it. Now you got to remember, he is standing in front of his people. He is instructed to say this. These verses, this block of verses starts with the word say. So he is instructed to say this. He just said all of those, listed all of those things, and he finishes it up by saying, and this is my sirat al-mustaqim. This is my straight path, so follow it. And do not follow any other paths, for they will lead you away from his path. These are his commandments to you, that you may be careful of your duty. So when you submit, when you decide to submit to God, you don't have to even believe in God. All you have to do is have common sense. Is it that outrageous? Is it outrageous what you're being asked to do? To respect your parents? To be just in not favor anybody, but to favor justice, to not kill your children, to stay away from immoralities, things that would hurt you and that hurt other people. If we all did this, if we all submitted, if we all obeyed, our lives would be better, our societies would be better, everything would be better. So when God says submit, this is what is meant. And you cannot achieve faith. You cannot be a believer in God without submitting. You cannot. Without obeying, there's no way. And this is further illustrated in chapter 10, verse 33, where God says, thus does the word of your Lord prove true against those who are defiantly disobedient, the fasikun, or people who, that's basically what the word means, that they will not believe. If you disobey God, if you do not obey these things, he will never give you belief. You will never have true belief. You will never be ready to meet death. When it comes to you, you will be afraid of it. The only way you can achieve true faith is by obeying first. And to obey first, you don't need faith. You just need common sense. You need logic. That's why God gave you logic. And if you call yourself a Muslim, this should be a no-brainer. I just showed you from the Quran what God says. These people came and they said, we believe. And Prophet Muhammad told them, no, you have to submit first. You have to obey first. Submission is obedience. And then even God himself tells you, my word will prove true, that those who do not submit, those who are defiantly disobedient, the fasikun, they will not believe. These verses are of extreme importance. And it's so little is asked of us. Just the goodness. Just goodness. That's all. Things we recognize. We know that they're good. There is no faith without submission. And if you call yourself a Muslim, you have to realize this. All these things that we are sold as religion, these mystical garbage, us reciting things we don't even understand, and thinking that you can do this for extra credit or that for extra credit. The level of ignorance in our societies, in our communities, is staggering. This is why I make these videos. I don't know, I don't understand how it got to that point, but it's really simple and logical. You have to do these things if you call yourself a Muslim. Even the word itself linguistically means the person who submits to God, meaning the person that obeys God. So there cannot be such a thing as a non-practicing Muslim. There can be a Muslim that makes a mistake or two, but that's all. And you know if you are trying, and then you know when you make a mistake. But if you're not trying, if you see yourself, as a part of this religion, but you are not submitting, you are not obeying, you're not following these precepts that are in the Quran, or even if you don't know what these precepts are, what you're supposed to do, you have to study them. You can't obey what you don't know. So you have to study it. Ignorance is not an excuse. This is what God says. And there is proof. I just proved it to you. It's not my opinion. You have to submit to eventually get faith. You have to be a Muslim to move on through the ranks and be a believer eventually. And this is what you want to be before you die, or you will not have an easy death. I don't know what God will do with you, but I know your dying is not going to be easy. The easiest death is for those who believe. And everything, all you have to do is good stuff. Just easy, good. I mean, I have no words. It is so little is asked of us, such beautiful things are asked from us, that the fact that we're not doing them, the fact that we see them as some sort of burden, is just very disappointing. But this is why heaven and hell exist, and the reason why I make these videos is basically hoping to educate people so they can keep themselves out of hell, because I can't do that for you. So good luck.